So I wanted to do another 100 days in a style completely different than my normal playthroughs. I tend to stick to a pretty consistent min-max style route and spend most of my time fishing and then mining in the skull caverns. So right off the bat, no fishing, no mining allowed on this run. I also tend to rely pretty heavily on local shops to get my farm into a full-blown production. So naturally I won't be buying anything from vendors, including Clint, Robin, and things like backpack upgrades, or tool upgrades for that matter. So these few things have already left me with pretty minimal options on what I'll be doing. I'm going to be playing 100 Days of Stardew Valley, but I can only forage and scavenge along the way. I'll still be doing some mining around the farm, but I'll never step foot in the mines. And I'll still be doing a fair bit of farming, though I'll never actually purchase any seeds of any sort. These few limitations have given me a much different path towards a somewhat modest goal I set for myself, which is 500,000 gold earned by the end of day 100. And I guess I'd also want to do maybe one room in the community center as well, so make that 2 goals. My strategy for this run is pretty simple overall. I'm foraging as much as humanly possible and then turn that forage into much more profitable items. Early on in the season, I'll probably do full map foraging runs to try and get as much forage for wild seeds as possible, and then essentially duplicate them exponentially by planting them and reharvesting them over and over again. And this should allow me to level up my foraging really fast and quickly gain the chance to get double foraged items and then the iridium quality forage goods as well. My day 1 was pretty much the same as every time I play through the game. I just run around the map, forage everything, chop all the weeds, I meet all the villagers, and then build a chest and get level 1 foraging. Nothing too crazy there. And I planted the first batch of what will be a ton of wild seeds later down the road. I also met Willie to finish up that meet everybody quest, and then I also foraged the beach, which all of this is kind of pointless long term. I don't actually need to meet anybody aside from Caroline, who I just talked to there, because she's really the only NPC I'll focus on, at least early on. After I get 2 hearts with her and get the event, I'll pretty much stop talking to anybody. And then you'll also see me chop a lot of trees. That's pretty much all I'll do, is chopping trees and harvesting and watering forage for a pretty good chunk of this. And I got level 2 foraging, which is fine. I did sell some of my stuff, and I don't really know why I did it. There's no value in having money. I don't need the money, and I can't spend it on anything anyway, so whatever. I did some more foraging and ended up planting 10 more of the seeds, and eventually once the community center opens, I'll donate 4 of the items so I can get some more seeds. But you'll really quickly start seeing how rapidly my farm essentially grows in size with foraging seeds. I also tend to make a lot of runs for spring onions because that's really my only source of food this early on. And I'll also be giving Caroline plenty of daffodils. Really, that's my first month, I would say, in this whole playthrough, is just that. A lot of these things that I'm earning as far as recipes go, I can't actually build because I don't have any access to mining materials unless I scavenge them from trash cans. And even then, I would need quite a bit of material to do it. By the time the 5th rolled around, I went and opened up the community center. That way tomorrow I get the letter from the wizard, and I can go through and donate some of the random bundles that I want to try and accomplish. I gave Caroline a gift, and then I went to sleep. Next day I talked to the wizard and donated 1 of each spring forage just so I can get the 30 extra seeds. And then I'll just plant them and water them like I always do. It started to become apparent pretty early on that this run was going to be a lot of watering. Just non-stop watering for the most part. And I didn't know what else I could really do about it. I had the mixed seeds planted early on that I was hoping to level up the farming a little bit just to make the watering a little more efficient at least. And then I had occasional rain days like this one that helped out quite a bit really. But otherwise, I think I was kind of giving myself a pretty rough task ahead. Like every day was pretty much already draining me of most of my energy, and that was just from watering. And so it was getting rough fast, and especially knowing how quickly this kind of stuff is gonna multiply with each harvest. But I decided to kind of keep going with it just to see how this sort of playthrough will pan out. I wasn't entirely sure on how close we would get with our goals. I just sort of picked general numbers. I kind of picked what I felt was like an average amount people earn on the first year and tried to do it through kind of weird manners. So we'll see how it goes. Rain is really going to be what I'm hoping for on this run. And of course I'm going to go the gathering tree so I can get double harvests and ultimately the all iridium forage, because inventory space is going to be really rough since I can't upgrade my inventory. And I was hoping that I could find a way to get some sprinklers going, but since I can't buy copper, that'll never happen. And since I can't go in the mines, my only source of copper is occasionally hoeing it up in artifact spots, and then even more rare, getting it in trash cans like outside of Clint's. So that wasn't looking too good either. So really what you're looking at is pretty much what you're going to see the rest of this run. A lot of harvesting and a lot of watering. That's why I would say I really cannot recommend that you play this game this way. You can... Yeah, that's good. It's something. I did the egg hunt. I don't know if I'd recommend doing that either, but I wanted a hat. And I felt like it didn't really fall under the guise of purchasing from vendors. So I thought it was okay. And I'm still kind of in the process of working on my 2 hearts with Caroline at this point. It takes a little while to get her there, but just giving her gold quality daffodils every or twice a week, I guess, is about all you can do, and talking to her every day. And hopefully you'll get somewhere with her. But the main reason I'm befriending Caroline is for her tea sapling recipe. The tea sapling recipe allows you to turn 2 wild seeds into a tea bush with the help of a couple other items. And if you can combine all those items, you can really multiply your profits by a pretty significant amount. So that was generally my plan. That paired with one other thing I need from the fall, and I should be able to turn all of my seeds into tea bushes and sell them off and make a ton of money. That was at least what I was planning on doing. And so we're about halfway through spring, and rain has become very, very valuable like I was originally anticipating. We're doing pretty good on our forage levels. We're up to 6 by now. I'm kind of hoping to get to 10 before the end of summertime, but it's kind of hard to tell where that's going to end up. I didn't actually do the math on how much you needed. I just was sort of hoping that the exponential growth of the forage would be enough to get me there. I've also been planting a lot of trees here and there, and most of the time I use the seeds for food, but otherwise I just plant them and then chop them down. It's a pretty limited cycle that I've found myself in. And I don't know if I would say it's rewarding, but so far it's been easy enough. And I did get the cutscene with Caroline on the 20th, or 19th I suppose, and I got a cat as well. This is the latest I've gotten a cat, and I'm not sure why that is. But whatever. I named a cat like I normally do. And ended up with a pretty decent sized harvest. The 21st is the last day I can plant any additional forage, because the seeds take 7 days to grow. So this one and then tomorrow will be my last final planting. And then from there on out I can kind of look forward to a little bit less watering. It is a little bit satisfying to harvest massive amounts of forage, just because it's something you don't see very frequently in a normal playthrough. But I was thinking I was going to go about this in a non-min-max way, and that immediately wasn't the case. I didn't do very much decorating in any sense. I mostly just picked harvest, man. Or picked forage. It was quite the run. Early on, I was even going as far as trying to like combine the lowest quality items to make the seeds to get the most value out of it, but that pretty quickly fell by the wayside. At some point when you're doing the same action over and over and over again, it gets pretty easy to stop being as meticulous about doing it. And for the most part, I also skipped most of the festivals after this. I was really just in one mindset, and that is water, refill your thing, harvest, and that's it. And that's really what I did. Summer is going to be where things take off quite a bit more, and that's just because in the summertime it only takes 3 forageables to make your wild seeds, as opposed to spring, winter, and fall, which take 4. So in like the summertime, I'll basically have that exponential growth take off at a much quicker rate. For now, this is the last major harvest, and I elected to actually sell everything. And I don't know why I decided to do that, but it just was kind of giving me a gauge as to how much I earned during the entire spring and how much I could expect to earn over the next few seasons. So that's a quick shot of what I ended up with. And then tomorrow I'll do the actual sales part of it. And for the meantime, just donate to the community center, get my 30 seeds buried in the ground, and keep going. This was ideally the bundle I was going to complete, but I ended up with a problem, and that's hardwood. I can't get hardwood because I don't have an axe capable of chopping it. So that's another problem. And I also had only made 57,000 gold, and that was off of the entire spring seed collection I had. So things weren't necessarily looking so good for me at this point. My original target of 500k seemed pretty far off, though I knew summer was going to be pretty decent, at least for money. And assuming my tea plan could really come into action, I'd be in better shape. Ideally, like I said before, make everything into tea. But the main thing I didn't really anticipate was running out of fiber. And once you run out of fiber, you cannot get any more unless you go in the mines or into the bug area. And you just can't get it unless you have fiber seeds. So the plan now was to kind of bank on fiber seeds in the fall from one of the bulletin board quests. And then I'd be in a little bit better shape, because you can grow fiber seeds in the wintertime and in the fall, and that would hopefully give me enough to make everything into tea bushes. And all I needed was that quest spawns, which is a pretty decent chance, though it's not guaranteed. So as you can see, I'm only on the 8th, and I'm already wrapping around this end with my seeds, so it's getting pretty out of hand. I'm pretty much spending my entire day watering, without any energy to forage, without any energy to do anything else, aside from when it rains. And that's like the only chance I get to do anything except for water. And you can see sort of off to the side of the screen the clumps of fiber I'm letting multiply, because I already know I'm short, and if I can let them multiply a little bit, I may be able to squeeze out a few extra tea saplings. But we'll see how that goes. And then yeah, just pretty much an unbelievable amount of watering. I essentially never want to water a crop again after doing this. And I think if I were to do something even remotely similar, if I just allowed for purchasing from Clint, I would be in good shape. Because I would just use mixed seeds to get to farming level 2, get sprinklers, and then I would never have to water, because I would just buy the copper and iron from Clint. But, here we are, so. It was more, I don't know, it's more about the challenge of it, I guess, than the actual practicality. This isn't something I can imagine anybody would ever do, but I wanted to try something like this. I was thinking about doing fishing only as well, but fishing, every day would be like 30 minutes of fishing. So you're looking at a pretty significant investment of time in real life for for maybe not much of a return. So I do kind of enjoy watching myself water and harvest in super fast motion. But I think that's probably about all I enjoyed when it comes to this run. So I'll say it again, this is not a style of run that I would recommend in any sense of the word. Because yeah, it's brutal. I mean, you're looking at probably 10 minutes on average of watering per day. So yeah, on top of like chopping trees and stuff like that. So yeah, just don't do that. And don't do this. But at least we're going to make some decent money out of it and hopefully get closer to that goal. And I mean, at this rate, we're already have way more forage than we ever did from spring. And yeah, we're just doing better. So we'll see how it all ends up. The only real worry I have is like, if I don't get that quest in fall, then I'm kind of out of luck and I'll miss out on a pretty good chunk of change. But at this point, because I have 59,000 gold already, I guess I can technically finish the bundle of the vault. As long as I can turn in enough bundles to unlock the vault, I'll be able to finish that room. And so I can at least check that off the list. That one's pretty much guaranteed to be completable. I don't consider that shopping from a vendor because it's just Junimos, and I don't really think they're vendors necessarily. And if they are, I guess I failed, but I don't think so. Yeah, so this is a pretty good harvest here, and I don't have to replant because it's the 22nd, which is really nice. I should also mention I'm playing on a controller. You might have noticed it just said gamepad disconnected because it died, but that kind of made this process a little harder. While I did use animation canceling for chopping down trees and stuff, the controller doesn't help a lot with harvesting and stuff, so without animation canceling, this would have been completely impossible, just because it takes that much longer to actually water everything. You wouldn't be able to do this, there's no chance. But yeah, look, if you can see right now, I have tons and tons of seeds. I have the iridium quality forage, so inventory space is nice. And everything is looking like generally good, I would say. And then rain. Of course, it rains like the day after I need it to, but if I had rain totems or the ability to make them, that would have been pretty nice too. I would have had pretty much a full summer of rain. Or if I step manipulated, you could you could step manipulate rain every single day, and that would probably be a good alternative. But I really wasn't trying to count my steps in addition to doing a lot of this other stuff. And I didn't, so. The only other thing that I'm really doing right now is I am starting to get my winter stuff ready too. So planting a lot of trees so that everything is ready for winter and when I could do a mass clearing essentially of the forests. And there's a snapshot, as I just showed you, of what I ended up with in the summer, which was a ton more fruitful than spring. But again, I didn't sell this time. I didn't sell anything else until the very last day because it's less fun to slowly watch the number go up than a big reveal, so to speak. So I was kind of going into this not knowing what my end result was. And there's me walking into a bush. I also spent quite a bit of time doing berry harvesting. I did salmon berries back in spring, and I did blackberries now. I don't know why I left all this in. That's just me walking around for that whole day, which is a very bizarre thing to do. And this is also where I start checking to see if the quest I need is there. And so far, no, it is not. And the quest I need is from Linus, which is the community cleanup quest, where you have to fish out some trash. And my plan for that was just to fish at the fountain, because there's no possibility of catching fish, so it really isn't fishing. And then I just turn the trash in and have my fiber recipe. And that way I can grow as much fiber as I need. It doesn't need to be watered. And my entire winter would be essentially having fiber and forage seeds going. And then I would just turn it all into tea saplings, and sell them all for quite a bit of money. That was the plan. Again, no quest we needed. And back to the same grind of hoeing, planting, watering, and harvesting to essentially no end. The main mistake I would say I made with this run, aside from attempting it, is I neglected to turn in the bundle for a really long time to get the extra 30 seeds. So I waited until the 10th, which really slowed down my snowballing effect for my foraging seeds. So I'm not sure why I did that. I'm guessing it had to do with some of the mind-numbing process that was involved with this run, but that was probably one of the bigger mistakes I made. And then yeah, just harvested for some more berries. The berries are really necessary because of how much energy I need to actually water everything. Like I think I'm eating like 5 or 10 berries a day just to keep going so I can water all of my forage. And I didn't want to be tapping into my forage too much and losing out on a lot of profits. And since I don't have spring onions or, seeds from chopping trees down, the only option really is bush berries. Yeah, you can kind of see that like fall was off to a pretty slow start. Like I think by now we had already filled up the whole field pretty much in summertime, so this may have cost me pretty dearly, which in all honesty I didn't mind because it was a little bit less watering to do every single day. But at least, I don't know, rain was pretty well on my side for this. This is, again, I can't stress enough how much you shouldn't do this. Another week goes by of not getting the right quest. And I figured that was going to be the case. Like, I knew I needed it, and I was banking on a pretty rare chance. And it was just becoming more and more apparent that quest wasn't going to happen. So all my tea efforts are starting to be for nothing. Without being able to have that fiber source, I'm pretty much in trouble. And again, nothing. I still have one more check to see in the wintertime because it only takes 9 days to grow the fiber, and I can make a ton of fiber seeds because I have a lot of mixed seeds stored up. And so I was kind of hoping I'd get that in wintertime. Things don't always go to plan, which is unfortunate because I think that would have changed things a little bit. And yeah, just some harvesting, man. Just a lot of harvesting. Oh my goodness, so much. I think the forest farm was probably a good choice just because there's so many more ponds and it's a little more dynamic than the standard farm. But really, it didn't help me out that much. I did pretty good though. I mean, yeah, you can see not nearly as well as the summertime, which I had almost 5,000 summer seeds and I only have 1,500 fall seeds. So say what you will about that. And then into winter. It's the same thing. The only difference is the method of acquiring some of the forage is a little bit different. And wintertime is something I could have done a little differently too. There are some things I could have exploited that I chose not to exploit too much. So once I donated the winter foraging bundle, I got the seeds, and I pretty much went on to do like the same sort of thing. I didn't use any major exploits, but I did buy out the vault bundle. None of these items were really that helpful, but I at least accomplished one of my goals, which was to finish a room. And you'll see here in a moment what I'm talking about when it comes to exploits. And that is a form of RNG manipulation called clay farming, which looks similar to this, but a lot of people are a lot better at it than I am. And you can essentially carry that pattern over and over again with clay or winter forage items, and just do it over and over again with predictable forage spots. And so you can essentially just hoe the ground in that pattern and have an unlimited amount of forage or clay. So I did it for a little bit, and it's probably less fun than even just watering. So I think that was the main driver into why I didn't do it. And if you look into the way you actually do it, just go on YouTube and type in clay farming. It's actually a really cool thing that a couple guys figured out. I think Piano Addict and Blade and some of the D Crew fellows. I'm just not good at it, and I don't like doing it, but it's pretty cool at least. And yeah, winter was more of the same. The only thing that I couldn't do was rely on rain to carry me through. And I also wanted to make sure I chopped every single tree down in the entire game. If I'm going to try and get the most money possible, I might as well at least destroy every tree. And I checked the board there, and again did not get the quest. So at this point, it was guaranteed that I wouldn't be able to accomplish the tea sapling via fiber seeds goal, which was fine. It's not a big deal. It's just going to make that 500 grand a little bit harder to get. I also turned in some artifacts thinking I would be able to sell the melon seeds. Oh, here I go again doing this. Sell the melon seeds and the cauliflower seeds. But I forgot I said I wouldn't sell to Pure. So that was pointless. You can't even sell them in the shipping bin. You can give them away. I think I gave one to Vincent. And then otherwise, they just sit in your inventory and take up space because you can't delete them. And here's my essentially mass deforestation in progress. I went through the entire town essentially and just chopped down every tree. I don't know if the trees grow back in wintertime or not. I know on your farm they won't, but I don't know about in the other parts of the world, you know. So, I don't know. I wasn't really eager to find out. I mostly just wanted the wood for money. And then back to what I do best, and just watering over and over again. It ended up being it's a pretty calming process to just sit there and water crops over and over and over again. It gives you a lot of time to just kind of, I don't know, listen to an audiobook, I guess, or podcast and just kind of chill. And it wasn't the worst, you know, it could have been a lot worse. But again, it's not how this game is meant to be played, and I can't say I'd recommend it. But yeah. I keep thinking that I'm playing till the end of the year, but I'm not. So that's why I'm not replanting more things. I'm just playing until the 16th, which is pretty rapidly approaching. And this is my final harvest, which again is super satisfying, like especially having that much money coming in the wintertime, which I really don't think most people do. Like this is really the only way to make good money in the winter, aside from selling iridium or, you know, Ginger Island or your greenhouse. So that was kind of nice. I only ended up with 550 seeds though, which really isn't too amazing, but it's time to sell, and so that's what we're gonna do. Pretty much selling everything except for those seeds, like I said, and just hoping at this point that we reach our goal. We weren't really super sure whether or not it would happen or not. I could have done some pretty simple math along the way and figured it out, but I figured I'd just find out in one sell. It's a lot more fun that way, so we'll see. I mean, I think overall, it felt like I made a pretty good amount of money. Like, I really hope so, considering how much actual physical work went into it. It's just hard to say. And I got achievements, so that's good. And then I hit 446,000, which is like really close to it, but I totally forgot that I made 60 grand earlier, so I actually barely scooted in past that $500,000 goal. And that would have been a ton more had it been for tea saplings, because those just sell for so much more. But as you can see, most of my money came from like summer seeds, $55,000 just for a stack of summer seeds. So potentially, had I done a little bit better in the fall and a little bit better in the spring, I could have made a little more money. But overall, I mean, it ended up being pretty good. Like, Forage is pretty fruitful if you dedicate your entire playthrough to it, which I don't think you should. Again, just don't do it. Yeah, I ended up, I don't know, $470,000 in pocket, which isn't bad. Level 10 foraging. 2 farming, which isn't, just whatever, you know, it's just from mixed seeds. My friendship degraded a bit with Caroline, which is natural. And yeah, I ended up making just over 500,000, 512, so pretty happy with that. I would never do this again. I think it's bad. And I think it'd be hard even doing it with farming this way. It'd be even less money. But this is the only way you can make money without vendors. I think this is the only way to do it. Maybe mining. Mining would probably be alright with iridium, but whatever. Subscribe if you want to see more videos. I mostly just do long-term Let's Play kind of stuff, so anyway, see ya.